So we're now up to part 2 of limits of accuracy, which looks a little bit at what we actually do with that information that we learn how to calculate. Okay, so using the absolute error. So we can use the absolute error to compare the accuracy of two different measurements. Okay, so we say that it's comparing one measurement relative to another. So it's basically a way of helping us to compare apples with apples, if you like, rather than comparing apples with raspberries. Okay, and we look at two different calculations. The first one is relative error, and the second one is percentage error. And you'll see when we get to them that they're pretty much the same thing. Percentage error just has one extra step. Alright, so an example is probably the best way to look at how we use or do these measurements and how they're used to compare. Okay, so the first one, we've taken a measurement of 63 kilograms on a set of scales, and those scales measured to the nearest kilogram. The second one, we've got a measurement of 12 centimetres on a ruler, and that ruler measures to the nearest centimetre. Okay, so I've gone through the steps here of calculating the absolute error, so half of the smallest unit, and you can see that we get plus or minus 0.5 each time. Okay, so then our limits look something like that. So we subtract the 0.5 from the measurement and we add the 0.5 to the measurement. It gives us our limits or our range. Okay, so from just doing those calculations, it's not really clear which of these measurements is the more accurate. Now if we introduce the new calculation, relative error, okay, so how we do that is we put the absolute error over the measurement that we take. So we're going to divide here. Okay, so using the same example, so for our scales, our relative error would be 0.5, so absolute error, divided by the measurement that we had, 63 kilograms, and we end up with 0.0079. Okay, for our ruler, our relative error again, 0.5, divided by the measurement that we got, 12 centimetres, we end up with 0.0417. So this starts to give us a bit of a better idea about which one is more accurate. Okay, and here the lower relative error means a more accurate measurement. So which one of these would be more accurate? Well, at this stage, we're going to say the scales. Okay, the next calculation that we look at is percentage error. Now, if you have a look at this formula, absolute error divided by measurement times 100, you'll see that it's nearly identical to relative error. The only difference is we're going to multiply by 100 to turn the fraction into a percentage. Okay, so using the same example again, so I've taken our relative error from the last question, multiplied by 100 each time, and here you can see 0.79% versus 4.17%, so it brings it into an even better form of comparison here. So percentages are, I guess, a little easier to for people to get information quickly. So again, a lower percentage error means a more accurate measurement. So now it becomes more clear that the scales, in this instance, would provide a more accurate measurement than the ruler.